I want to welcome you to the Charly Crawford podcast. Let's ride.
What's up, Trey?
How you doing?
Man, I'm good, man. Where you at right now?
Man, I'm over here by Houston. I fly out in the morning to go to, where do I go? Mona tomorrow, Mona, Utah.
What, you were in Pasadena right now, correct?
Yes, sir.
This morning? Or
We went last night.
last night? How did that go?
We made a decent run. I think we're winning fourth, so hopefully win something. Just kind of see how it shakes out this week.
So I was looking at the standings this morning, and right now they have you 15th. Is that correct?
I think so. Yes, sir.
So
Yep.
15th in the world, down to the last week of the season.
Yep.
What's that like?
Well, honestly, it's a position that I haven't ever been in before. The three times I have made the national finals, I actually we had it sewed up pretty early. You know, Aaron and I actually had it made, which it was different times and the money was a little different, but we had it made at Nampa, Idaho that year. We were done. And then
Mid-July, you were in.
Mid-July we were in. In fact, Aaron said,
it makes the season easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of wild. He can't. I mean, and it was my first year rodeo, and so I really didn't. He just came up to me at the slack at Nampa and said, "I'm not going to the Northwest. You need to find a partner." And I was like, "Okay." So because he's like, "I think you'll have fun up there, but I don't need to go." And I said, "Okay." So then I actually roped with Garrett Rogers through the Northwest that year. But anyway, and then I guess one other time, the COVID year maybe. They had the tour finale at Rapid City.
Rapid City.
Yeah, and I think there Sherwood and I rode to Sherwood that year, and I think we were like 15th or 16th going to the last day. But there was kind of three guys right there on the bubble, kind of how it shook up. But anyway, other than that, Tyler and I we won Caldwell one year, and that punched our ticket, and then. Maybe the following year at Puyallup, maybe that was it. But this was all previous to the Governor's Cup, which I've never been blessed to be a part of till this year, and sure looks like an incredible rodeo. So.
Yeah, what an event! Golly, what are the day monies worth, and how does the payout work? You know?
I want to say it's 4 monies each round, 11,000, maybe almost 12,000. Or 11,300 maybe. I looked the other day. I can't remember. And then I want to say that they have 12, and then the 2 head in the average. So they bring back 8. I'm gonna guess it pays the same, and then I know the final 4 pays 32,000. Pays 4 monies.
Man, that keeps a lot of people not sleeping that didn't make the Governor's Cup that are watching from the outside in. It looked to me like when I was looking at the standings, you're in the top 10, it looks like you're clean. It looked like, what was there, about 2 guys that are kind of on the outside that made the Governor's Cup? It was, I believe if I was right, you and Luke are on the outside, kind of on it and on the outside, really short, and then kind of right there on that line. And then other than that, I have Will Woodfin. He's way back there, but with that kind of money, he's still got a chance, correct?
He does, yeah. And honestly, he's roping with Dustin, which, I mean, I think he thrives in. I presume the barrier's pretty short. It sounds like it's a little arena, which obviously Dustin's amazing anywhere he goes. But I would say that he thrives in those setups, and you know, I think he really lives for $11,000 go rounds. Would be right up his alley. So
yeah, because there seems like there's a battle between the Squeeza, Caleb Driggers, Tyler Wade, Clint Summers, Tanner. A lot of them guys are all right there where they're trying to battle being number 1 going in. So they're going to be hanging on them. And then, you know, like the Graham boys, they made it. So there was 4 of them that made it from Puyallup, correct?
Yes, sir.
It was the Graham boys, Clay Smith, Nikki Northcott, if I remembered right, Clint Summers, Jade Corkle, and Dustin Esquiza and Will Woodfin made it from the final 4, the 4-man round at Puyallup. which pushed them in, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then after that, then it's the eight teams with the most points from the whole
That's right.
season, from the tours.
Yeah, finishing at Mandan. I think that was the last
That was the
rodeo.
last one for points.
Yep.
So you got Kyle Dennison, Lane Mitchell. They made it in there off points. Andrew Ward, Jake Long. Man, how about the finishing fourth quarter that those guys have done to pull themselves into just now top 10? Being outside the top 15 almost all year long, and then the fourth quarter came in, and they just looked like they just put 4 wide receivers deep, no one in the background, shotgun, and just went to just blitzing them.
Yeah, like when Roger Staubach was the Cowboys quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to throw a Hail Mary.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was.
I mean, I think Andrew is just he's so good. I mean, I mean, you know as well as I do, there's really no, he never really gets out of his lane. I mean, I think he scores so good, and obviously he keeps him 2 or 3 horses that let him win a lot, that he rides really well. And actually, I was kind of looking at, I like to watch team roping. So this morning I was scrolling, watching a lot of X Factor and watching Jake Long videos. I really like Jake Long's style. I think he handles his rope amazing. And that sorrel horse, I actually found a video from when they won Pecos and they won Greeley, and then it got cold, I think, if I remember right. And it was cold up to then.
Yeah.
But the first round at Pecos, that sorrel horse looked amazing. And then, which I think he did all year, but it's like all of a sudden when their run started coming together about, right there for Calgary sometime,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like both horses looked incredible. The roping was incredible. I mean, you look at their run at Mandan the other day, and which it was kind of boggy conditions. I do know that Cole Latham said that the guy that had the steers, he has the steers. It would be the same steers at Sioux Falls. Good guy. He said that all the steers are even. He said there is one that's a little bit better today maybe than the rest of them. And he said it's Andrew and Jake's, which to me the most impressive thing is, I mean, I'm going to guess they knew they had the little bit better steer. They talked to the stock contractor no different than anybody else would. But to still drill the barrier and, to win the rodeo outright in those situations, that to me is when you're a proven winner. I don't know what your opinion about that is, but I mean, Jake went all the way around the steer, almost past him, but trusted that it was going to work.
Man. That heel horse, God, he looked good, man. His freaking horn stayed up, ass stayed down, square to the steer. Like, this looked badass. I've seen him at Pecos and Greeley, and they were hitting pretty good strides over the fourth. And I'm like, man, this team's dinging them now. Like, they looked like their confidence was there. They were making their runs. And like you said, they went cold. And then it seemed like once they got to Calgary, that was a big win. Ellensburg, they started getting their confidence. They were making runs. Pendleton making runs. And then it looked like then when they got the doozy over there at Mandan, then they had the confidence to blitz the bitch. And I mean, they did it. It was awesome. And
Even Omaha the other night,
you expected it from that team all year long. It was wild how long it just took to get there.
Yeah, that's what's kind of amazing about team roping is like being in sync. I don't really know which you roped with several different partners in your career. I think you can attest. Like if you look back on your career, like what is your opinion about like developing a run, or do you think that there's times when you start roping with somebody it just flows? Why does it take time to develop a run sometimes, or if it just doesn't fit? Like sometimes it's not a fit. So what's your opinion on that?
Well, like for me, when I was looking for the guys that were as good as Jade. They had the ability of the top guys. I kind of started at the Al Bach when he was on his way out, the Clay Coopers, the Corey Kuntz, and stuff like that, the elite guys. And then you've seen the Jades come up, and then you've seen some of the top guys come up throughout there, and the Thorpes, and came up. But like for me, it was if that guy was hungry and he was wanting to get around it, to me, when I roped, I know where to put them. I wasn't able to use my rope well enough to where I could get them before they would get away on a flatter horse that could pull that steer back to someone that hangs back. So like that, I've tried that style with that, and that's where it just never really, that wasn't my strength. My strength was hitting the barrier, having a horse that run, and then usually a heeler that had a pretty fast horse that was there. So when I hooked, I could feel where he was at and I could just put him right there. But for me, it was those young kids that needed a chance. It was those guys that I felt like had the ability of the top guys, but just needed a chance, just needed somebody that could show them the same thing over and over and over again and let them develop. And also, too, when it comes to the mental game for me, I just enjoyed guys that wanted to rope with me. That gave me the confidence where I didn't feel like when we were working on developing a run that I had to look around and wonder if I'm going to get cut if I miss, which when I first got started, that was kind of a thing. If you didn't win good, them guys were just waiting for you because they're not going to tolerate not being able to rope good enough. So those things can be a little bit difficult, but the young kids are just hungry back there, want a chance. Like I strived on that and I enjoyed the building process of it. But that's what I was looking for that kind of fit my style. And then also too, was I think that there was certain strides of horses that would also match strides of the heel horse as well. When I remember one time when Shea Carroll and I roped, he had that Sports Center horse, that bay horse. It was just real quick footed. And then I had Patron, and those two just went together good, really good. And then I had Bullseye, a little longer strided horse, and then he had another heel horse that I think he grew up on that was also kind of a little longer strider horse. And we would just send them to I wouldn't say duck offs, but just some of the one headers and stuff to where that we were saving our good ones for. But then those would hit good together. They were consistent. You may not win a lot of first, but you're going to place a lot. And then the other ones would just bank, So there's times where you felt chemistry hitting at certain times. And I think a lot of that has to do with horses and styles as well.
Absolutely.
Well, looks like
and
the off
what's
team.
kind of crazy now is like, I think that's really cool. Like you said, you look for the young kid that was hungry. Um, you know, I would vouch to say that. I mean, I don't know what Synergy's situation was when we started roping that year, but I don't think I was first on his roster by any means, if that makes sense. But obviously it worked out. But like, even at that time, I would consider him a veteran. He was a world champion at that point, had been to the finals a couple times. But what's kind of unique now is you look at a team like Tyler Tryon and Denton Dunning. The first, I want to say that that's the first time you've seen a young team come on the scene, which obviously they wrote great. I mean, there's no doubt. But like, you date back to Wesley Thorpe's first NFR, him and Zach Small cracked out. Two guys that, I mean, obviously both wrote great, had a resume at a young age, Wesley especially, but they're like, we're going to go rodeoing this year. And then they just went and did it and made it. But a lot of times, I feel like 90% of the time, you see a young guy get with a quote-unquote veteran to get their career rolling. So I think that's pretty cool, like second year on the scene for these guys. And then first year roping together full-time. Mm-hmm. And they're an amazing team.
Well, you go to Tyler Tryon and Denton, I think too is you probably would have to credit a lot of the stuff that Tyler grew up watching. So as young as he is, that kid was in the rig. He probably rodeoed more than most adults had before he even got his card. So it's not like that kid never seen what Ellensburg looked like.
Right.
It's not like he never seen what Pendleton looked like. That kid probably almost had more experience as a rookie than, golly, as much as anybody. And right. So, you'd have to credit that a little bit where you've already kind of seen all the stuff. You have Clay Tryon, who's one of the doggest, competitors. That dude just dog. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there is nothing going to pull that guy off when he was competing. He was attack mode. You know what I'm saying? So you can see where Tyler had that, in my opinion, especially come Mandan. That was a run they needed.
Yes.
It's been hit and miss, and then that one is either you have this one shot, and that was it, and they just tattooed that bitch. And I thought, man, that was, you could see that dog and that bloodline come out. I thought at Mandan, and then give them a chance now where they've got a chance to finish, and that had to
Right.
be a lot of confidence as well for them.
Absolutely. And you know, kind of what you were saying about, I obviously didn't get to see Clay a lot, like there, you know, a couple years, but when he was still rodeoing full time. But like when Tyler backs in the box, he's in kill mode, kind of like you're talking about. I mean, he's out for blood. I mean, he wants to drill the barrier. He's one of the guys that he wants to drill the barrier and use his rope. You
Yeah.
know, and that that is very impressive to me. Because sometimes you see guys go one way or the other, and he's gonna be the full batch. It's like I'm gonna as soon as I can get it on him when I drill the barrier, I'm going to. You know, there's no one more swing. There's no. Now he's smart enough that I'm, you know, like in a short round or something. If he's got
Mhm.
6-8 to win the rodeo, he's still gonna drill the barrier. But he's liable to go 5-9. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, he's sharp that way, which is
Yeah, he's
impressive.
jackpotted enough and learned how to win. I've been
Absolutely.
watching the jackpots all winter and all spring, and just like you said, he was always top five, if not high call, and whatever it took to win. He was learning how to, I think, those average runs win at those jackpots. But right now, man, he's able to let her loose at everything. It looks like.
It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I seen where they're on the outside. Looks like the two off teams at the Governor's Cup would be. Looks like Dustin and Squeeze and Will Woodfin,
Hmm.
a team that doesn't usually rope together. And then it looks like that. What do you send me here? I'm looking. Tanner Tomlinson and Kobe Payne.
Yeah.
Those will be the two off teams that don't rope together normally that are paired up there. Let's rewind just a little bit. Let's go back to say like Puyallup. Like when it started feeling like the 2 minute warning. This is what I always like to say is like because it's what it feels like to me when I was rodeoing. It seemed like Pendleton, right around Pendleton, was like in football, the 2 minute warning. There's a couple weeks left basically where you've got this many rodeos, you've got rigs sent everywhere. So, looks like, man, you guys just murdered that first one over there at Puyallup. Like that was such a good run. It was a red steer, is that right? We're 4 or 5, stay in the middle. And to me, when I've been watching your heeling, it looks like you're almost faster this year than I've seen you. I don't know if it's the horse, I don't know what it is, but like when your ability to find the first hop and come fast and come tight fast, like it looks so good. Like you're roping, you've always roped great. I'm not saying anything like that, but I always love it when you start seeing guys where they're able to get more consistent faster, and you can tell they've been working on either whether it's a horsemanship or whether it's something with the rope. But let's go back to Puyallup, kind of where you were, Pendleton that week, Amarillo, and kind of where you're at now as far as the rodeos, rigs, horses, things like that.
Yeah. Well, I honestly, and you know, that I think that we've first off, I want to say I think that I'll speak for myself. I shouldn't speak for anybody else, but I have done a couple podcasts, and I know that there's times that I've maybe said more what people would want to hear than than how I really feel, if that makes sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell the truth, but I'm gonna sugarcoat it. Like I'm gonna be pretty raw about this. I've taken up with a mental coach, and that's the only thing that saved me. Uh, or a life coach, I guess you'd call.
Yeah.
You know, uh, I know Tyler Wade one time said that he was my my mental therapist or something because he's seen me, want to jump off a bridge. And I think that first off, once I put in perspective a lot of things in life, and I still battle with this every day. I think it's human nature a little bit. But the blessings that I do have really opened my eyes about it. So, like, if you want to date back to Puyallup, um, in fact, I told Chelsea this the other day, and this to me is a lot of truth, and this is something that Lyman Tenney has programmed in my mind. It's 100% in my mind. There's no way to erase it now. Is people talk about pressure, and I am fully 110% convinced now that pressure is not real. Pressure, like Lyman tells me all the time, pressure is like you put pressure. You put air in your tires. That's air pressure. That's the only pressure that's real. So, and two, he said that you've trained your whole life for these moments. So, and this is your job. Like, it's a job, and you do this every day. So why would you get nervous about doing your job? Now, I understand that when we think about things at stake, or I mean, it could trigger some other things. For me, an old paradigm essentially is what it could trigger. But I honestly, like, when I got to Puyallup, I'm like, man, honestly, I didn't even make Puyallup last year. So you talk about limited chances, right? Like, Sioux Falls is not even in the question now. But I mean, I had full confidence in Luke, first off, because how many times has he made it? I mean, he's prevailed in, I mean, 99% of the time, Luke Brown prevails in all situations. So I'm not even worried about Luke. And then second off, I'm on my 18-year-old horse that I've rode for however long. And I believe we can do it. So therefore, if you back in the box and you believe that you can overcome whatever obstacles they throw at you, there really shouldn't be anything that you can't live with results-wise. And sure enough, the first round we had a great steer that stayed straight, and Luke hit the barrier good, squared him up, and yeah, I got him first hop. I mean, it was 4-5 in the middle of the arena, and but I think that you got to make a plan and be able to execute. I think that's what the dogs do, and they believe they can do it. I mean, I don't think you can tell Dustin Esquiza that he can't ever reach the steer. But they have a belief system, and I think I'm just now starting to. I mean, at times I do doubt it, but that's personally, that's things I deal with, but I'm starting to believe and trust in my ability and the, essentially God's plan for me. I've questioned that a lot. So
That's really good. It's really good. I dealt with loss horrible. That was terrible. I blame most of my mental errors on probably my attitude, and I would say my attitude probably reflected my relationship with Jesus. It was all about me, and because that was, in my opinion, at the time, without that relationship with Jesus, was I'm leaning on me. So if I don't perform, I'm mad at me, and that was, my dad was, pretty hardcore, uh,
right,
militant. His dad, my granddad, they served in he fought in the Korean War, and my dad was a Marine, and he loved the Marines because that's what gave him structure.
right.
So that was how he parented.
That's how you were raised.
Drill sergeant, right? So that's how you spoke to
Absolutely.
yourself. So if I did good, I could breathe. If I did terrible, man, I brayed myself like a damn drill sergeant and never gave myself no relief.
Yeah.
And then it reflected on my horsemanship. It reflected on my relationships. And, I wish there were things that I could have did a little bit better when I was rodeoing than a lot of the stuff that I know now. Because now I don't have no pressure to do good because, I make money in other directions. So when I get to go like I went to Spicer Grip the other day, I ain't gonna lie, man, it was probably the most fun I've had roping in a long time. I've never learned how to enjoy roping. It
Right.
was, we're winning. Because if you don't, if like say hunting, man, you only eat what you kill,
Yeah.
and you only get to pay your bills when you're winning. So as pressure comes for me at the time was to be able to keep going. When I was single, we had to win, so we can keep going. So shoeing and riding horses that offset the losses to get me to keep going. But then, then now as a family and a place and a mortgage as the bills keep getting higher and higher, then the pressure for me to win was getting harder, higher and higher. And the sad part that's the wrong outlook for me to have looked at, looking back at it now, because when I went to the Spicer Grip the other day, man, it's a strange analogy, and I started doing this when I was working out. So I remembered in the Bible it talked about Peter when he walked out on the water, and Jesus held his hand out, and Peter started walking, but then he started hearing the ocean getting taller and the wind and the storm getting, and every time he would sink into the ocean. And Jesus kept telling me, he said, "What are you afraid of?" And he kept having his hand out. And when he was focused on Jesus, he would raise back up in the water and he was able to walk. But then when he'd see all the distractions, he'd sink back down. And I started doing that when I was working out. So like when, round 8 came, round 9, round 10, and I'm just like, I started just like, all right, like, can I focus on Jesus to where I can finish this reps to where I don't feel myself hurting? I don't feel the last part. And then I started thinking, I was like, man, I wish that I did that when I was roping, when I could feel the pressure showing up, could I focus? And I would almost focus it with just his hand out, like if I was walking through the water, because I'm like, all right, I'm going to do that when I go to Spicer Grip, because I remember when I went to Spicer Grip last year, I could feel my heart beating through my eyeballs. Same thing last year when I went to the World Series Finals in Vegas, and I was on a green horse, so I'm not real confident in him, and I trained him, so I mean, like I'm really nervous.
You know what might take place.
Exactly. You have that nightmare. Now, this is the truth. The nightmare was I kept thinking that I would nod and then I would go and the horse wouldn't go and I'd see the steer just fade away in the distance, right? Like that was a nightmare. I'd wake up at 3:30 in the morning having a cold sweat going, why did I enter the Spicer Grip? And he did great. But what I kept focusing on was like when I would feel the outside like pressure come, and for me as a clinician, it's like, okay, does this guy even know what he's teaching? Because like for so many guys, they don't even know I made an NFR because everyone's memory after 5 years goes away. Right. And so you kind of hear the noise, this guy even know what he's talking about. And a lot of times it's just in your head, and every time I'd hear that, I just focus off of it and focus right there. I'm like just visualizing like as I'm avoiding the noise. Right. And then the clarity that I had when I went back in the box was like, damn, I'm literally just in a spot where I can let it happen. Where I've been in spots where, like, say my last NFR, I did all right, but like, and I'm telling you, I was wanting to win so bad for my last NFR, and I knew it was my last NFR, and I put so much pressure on myself, and it was like the tire was going to pop. Like when you're talking about the air pressure, like I would put so much on it to where it was like a rock. If I ran over a rock, it would just explode because there was too much pressure. And that was one of the funnest times I ever had, and enjoyed seeing everyone, especially when you guys are so damn tired because you've been rodeoing and I'm not. It was fun, but like that was one of the things I'm like, damn, I wished I could have had that when I was roping. I could have stayed in the moment so much better where I wasn't focused too much on the things that didn't matter, if that makes sense.
Well, and what's funny is like listening to you, which I've been had some training so to develop tools to learn how to deal with these things and block them out. But like when you were talking about like losing sleep at 3:30 in the morning over what might happen, another thing Lyman's told me a lot about is 90% of the time when we're worried about something, it's something that hasn't even happened yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Did
And
he talk about?
human
Did he talk
nature
about
is to like think of the worst possible outcome. So you
Did he
either
talk
worry
about the
about
definition of
what
fear?
hasn't taken place or something that's already happened that we can't do anything about anyway.
Yeah. Did he talk about the definition of fear?
We haven't got that far. I'm
That
not the
one was
best
pretty cool.
trainee.
That one was pretty cool because the one guy told me this too, or it was a book that I read. It talked about the definition of fear. It's false evidence appearing real, where it defined real, and it's usually when it's something that hasn't even happened yet.
That's crazy, huh?
You think about guys going to battle, guys going to war. Stepping up the front lines, or like a SWAT team going up to the door and they're about to bust the door in. The adrenaline that shows up. Why? Shit, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
you're almost visualizing shit that's on what's on the other side of the door, and you're not sure. For me, a lot of times was when I'm back in that box and I cocked that sucker back, and it's like that feeling of like when you nod your head, you're not wasn't always so sure about what was fixing to happen after you nodded, just like what you're saying.
Yeah, I want to ride a bull so bad it drives me nuts, Charlie. Like I'm not kidding. I want to ride bulls. I want to make the NFR. I had this argument the other day with somebody. I said, "Do you think I can make the NFR riding bulls?" And they told me no, and it bothered me. Like it truly, like a little bit. I think of roping with Chad for 1 year. Like I got a little bit of the, that kind of hard headedness that he's got. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's different than a lot of other people's hard headedness.
Yeah,
Like
it really is.
chip on your shoulder a little bit. I will prove to you Like he
Don't
might
say I
say,
can't.
I can jump the hurdles around the track, you know, in under a minute or whatever the case is. So, but it's honestly the only reason I want to ride the bull. First off, I rode him in junior high, and I really want to relive that because there was an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
But it's the idea of the fact that I know I wouldn't be able to get on the bull for 3 months because I would have to be in shape. That's my opinion. So the build up, the 3 months to getting on this bull that I might only stay on for 3 seconds is that's the whole joy of it, right? Like when Mike White and Chris Shivers and all the old guys, Michael Gaffney got on the bulls years ago, retired PBR guys. It was the 3 months leading up to that everybody was excited about, and then all of a sudden it was over and it didn't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
It's the build up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So.
Yeah. That's funny. I've never wanted to get on a bull.
Never?
No, I rode him when I was a little kid. I was
Didn't love it.
I didn't love it. I got on some bucking ponies and stuff. I enjoyed that adrenaline. But what's weird though is like for right now, like one of my bucket lists is I would love to jump out of a plane. I'd love to go skydive.
That would be amazing.
Like that's one that I'd like to go do for sure.
Are you going to do it?
Yes, eventually.
You're going to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of my bull.
I love it.
That's awesome. I love the mental stuff you talk about because that's one of the things, in my opinion, is so hard and so. Some guys have it naturally. Some guys, I think they're wired not to, and then some guys, man, are wired to take things hard. And those are a lot. I see a lot of that. I went through it, and those are the things that when you think about rodeoing, if it took 50% or 60% win ratio to make the NFR, that means you're going to have to battle with 40% losing and 50% losing. So, to be able to overcome those things to where it doesn't affect that next run, those are learned skills for a lot of people. Some people have a low blood pressure. From what I've heard, I don't think anything bothers Tanner Thomason. You watch some guys, man, it's just like water off a duck's back. Mm-hmm. Anytime you seen me, I might look cool on the outside, but I was like a duck in the water. My feet were paddling. You may not have seen it, man, but my feet were paddling, man. But I was just trying to stay calm and cool on the outside, like Martin Lucero would say, man, like be a duck, man. Just don't let them see you paddle.
Yep. Yeah, that's a hard thing too, right? I mean, not being able to, it's one of the, it's a little different in team roping, but not really. Like, I remember one of my favorite movies is Varsity Blues, but Bud Kilmer says, never show weakness. The only pain that matters is the pain you inflict. Mm-hmm. Well, I think about that a lot too. Like even in my weakest moments, don't let not that the competition isn't my friends even, but like, don't let them see that you're weak. If you are, like, you have to hold it together, be a true competitor. That's been a hard thing for me. I mean, I've been known to throw fits and throw my ropes and throw bridles and I feel really bad for my dad and my granddad and my aunt at times having to put up with my attitude growing up a lot. And the worst part is I don't even know why I'm sad to say, but I didn't even have enough confidence to have high expectations in myself. So I don't even know why I was throwing temper tantrums. I don't know if it was maybe for attention. Maybe I don't know, but it's very sad, some of the things I've done in my life that, thank goodness, I mean, I still battle with some of it, but I'm not in that place anymore.
For me, from the outside looking in, it would be hard for me to even think about how you would ever get mad because you roped so good. When you're the outside looking in like me or anybody else, some of the best horses, some of the best ability, you're like, if that kid misses, he ain't missing twice.
Right.
Like that's how from the outside looking in. I remember one time Big Al, when I got to rope with him one year, his is probably the best advice I'd ever heard. And it made me really stop and think. Now I didn't battle it. I didn't have it conquered after that, but it really made me think. And I missed a couple in a row for him and stuff. And I'm braiding myself and just talking down to myself, man, I won't happen again. I can't believe I did that. I was so dumb and this and that. And he was like, man, I've heard you say that a couple of times in a row. And he goes, is that really how you talk to yourself when you win? I'm like, well, yeah, man. If I don't, who's gonna? Like that drill sergeant, right? And I Like, well, that's one way to look at it. He goes, who's some of your best friends out here? So I rattled off some of the guys that I, really admired out here, some of the guys I grew up with and I loved, and they said, say that guy, say he missed two in a row like you just did. Would you tell him what you just told yourself? And I was like, no. Well, how come? Because he's not going to miss that. There's no way he's going to miss that steer in a row. And he's like, you don't think that this guy, and this guy hasn't thrown a loop that you just threw? I'm like, well, yeah, I bet he did. And he goes, what if you talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friends? I'm like, damn, I never thought about that. So I walked off, and he goes, where are you going? He said, I didn't offend you, did I? I said, no, you didn't offend me. I said, I'm going to buy myself a beer because I feel like I owe myself a beer. I owe myself a beer. I need to apologize for all the shit that I told myself.
Like, hey, Chuck, man, I'm sorry.
But that was pretty cool because you think about how you would tell one of the guys you look up to or one of your buddies, like if they miss, like you wouldn't tell them probably the same thing you tell yourself. And I'm like, man, I got to live with myself. So why wouldn't I try to be my own best friend? It was one of those things I really tried to figure out how to get there on that one.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, loving yourself, that's the hardest person to love. But if you don't, then it's hard for other people too, right? That's kind of what we've discussed a lot. And I don't know about you, but I guess, and like when you were rodeoing, and you were hard on yourself, right? Like for me, I would feel like, say I missed at the BFI, the whole world is looking at me and judging me. When essentially, one of the things, this is kind of the brutality of it, the truth, and Lyman has made this clear that they really don't care. Nobody really cares. You don't really mean enough to anybody for them to change their opinion of you. So, and I think a lot like what you talk about is you see it a lot out here. But living results based, right? That's what the main thing that Lyman works with me on is not finding your self-worth in your results. And I have noticed that even at times when I want to get really upset at myself, when I don't get the desired outcome, as long as I keep in mind my affirmation, like the things that truly, my friends, my family, my horses, like just the opportunities I have, I can live a lot better with the outcome. It still stings. That's part of being a competitor.
Yeah.
But I can move on.
Yeah, I always felt like at the end of my career, if I missed, my people in my circle felt bad for me, and the people that talk shit, they were in my circle anyway. So
that's right.
Not really looking to hear those voices because they're going to talk shit no matter what. And so those were not the guys in my circle. And it's got to where now, like if I was to mess up, the guys in my circle now, they're going to let me know if I mess up in a way that so you don't do it again. That's my circle. But as far as talking crap about me behind my back, I wouldn't know because those are not the guys that are in my circle. And so I think that's so important. A lot of times too is when you have those guys that they have your back and they're not going to let you mess up and where you do it intentionally, but they're going to make sure that when you're trying, man, they're encouraging you, and it's important to have that circle. I feel like.
Yeah, and I think it's funny too. I'm sure you still get this a lot, but you meet somebody or you see somebody you haven't seen in a long time, and they're like, "What about so and so's roping? What about so and so's roping? You know what? That dude ropes good. What do you think? What do you think?" One thing I learned, and when I was a kid, and I've talked about this before, it's really sad to me. In fact, the other day I'm trying to get a lock on some Hort dogs because I've bought every DVD. I don't know how many times, and obviously they keep going missing, but I can't find them anywhere. But now, there's kids that don't know what the Hort dog is, and it's just amazing to me. Like they have no idea what the best roping tape in the world is like, which is great that X Factor and roping.com. I'm very happy that there is a lot of access, a lot of instruction for people. But what I was getting at is when I was a kid, and I actually decided I wanted to rope a little bit. I watched those tapes all the time, and my dad, who did not care one lick to watch team roping anymore, and at that point in his life, I would put him on and he would just sit there in his recliner and have to watch him with me. And I would say, what about so-and-so's roping? Does he rope better than him? Does he rope better than him? Does he, And I would just drive him nuts. And he told me all the time, and I never understood it until now, is he'd say, well, you can't compare ropers. And I never really, I was 10 years old, 12 years old, just starting to rope, really, and I didn't really understand what he was saying. And I guess that's kind of when I was asking you, even dating back, what you look for in a partner or what you thought worked for you. The pen and paper doesn't always lie, but there is this thing such as mixes. I would say that Luke and Martin were I'm sure if you put those two together today, they'd be a top 5 team, whatever it is. I have no idea what, I wasn't around, but there was, Luke even told me there was a comfort level roping with Martin that it just was going to work no matter what.
Yeah.
So, you could have put him with, I don't know, Clay Cooper, for instance, and who knows, I'm not saying that they wouldn't have been a great team, but would they be as good as Luke and Martin was? Nobody knows. So,
right.
But I guess I like now when people, I get home or whatever, talk to somebody on the phone, man, that guy's been roping good. What do you think of his roping? And I always start with, I don't like to talk about people's roping. And I think, first off, I do like a lot of the guys out here rodeoing. So, and their self-worth to me comes from nothing of their roping. That's, I love Hunter Cook. I love Wesley Thorpe.
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that they're two amazing healers.
Right.
But obviously I might give a little bit of opinion, but it's solely off of what I've been seeing. Like, it's not like, oh, that dude ropes good, or, well, I think he ropes really good, but I've seen this lately, and I think he knows better, and once he gets it lined out, it's going to work.
Right.
But
you think about 100 ropers out there, which you deal with all the time. They all rope good.
They all rope good, especially healing. I do think there's an elite class of healers, and I'm sure everybody's got their opinions. I don't want to get into it, but there is a lot of guys that heal really well. I think that there's starting to be more guys that actually ride pretty good too, which is really impressive to me. You look at a guy like, and maybe people think I'm wrong. This is why I don't like to talk about roping, but I really like Chris Young. I think Chris Young is a cool dude. He's so positive. He's got a good attitude, and he's just like, if he's in, or I don't know how he is with other people, but like, he's my buddy and he is Team Trey and I'm Team Gucci. You know what I mean? Like, that dude's awesome. And he had I think Devin McDaniel is a great young header, has a really good horse. The dude's talented. I think that's somebody you're going to hear about pretty soon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched the second Perfect Mandan, but that was a chance to be 4-3, 4-4. When the barrier pulled, he turned the steer.
Yeah, he's got game.
And Gucci, bought that horse kind of later in the year, right there about a week before Hermiston, and I want to say they won second at Hermiston out of the first set. So he's dealt with some things this year that I've dealt with, as far as had some horses get crippled, but like, Gucci's roped good for how long? And now he's got a partner, and they're liable to be a great team come next year. Right there, start of the fourth quarter, they won 6,000 at one of the biggest rodeos of the year. So, that's what I'm saying. They get tapped off and catch the right steers. They're just as good a team as a lot of guys. Maybe I'm crazy saying that, but that's how I look at team roping. You got a guy that feels good, and you got a young, talented header with a good horse, which I think is the most important thing when it comes to heading, because there's a lot of guys that head really well, but there's X amount of horses. Mm-hmm. They're a threat all of a sudden.
Yep.
Hey, friends, if you're looking for something that inspires grit, creativity, and good old-fashioned hard work, you've got to check out Ezra Tech Ranch Gear. This isn't just another brand. It's a group of homeschooled teenagers who are learning to enterprise, building real skills, and producing high-quality gear that stands up to ranch life and beyond right here in Texas. Each piece is hand-tooled by these young men and women themselves, and the craftsmanship speaks for itself. Their truck scabbard? It's their top seller. Rugged, practical, and built to last. If you're looking for something unique for your business, they even create custom corporate gifts with your company logo. And here's what I love. Every purchase not only gets you gear you can count on, but it also supports the next generation of entrepreneurs who are learning what it takes to work hard, create value, and build something meaningful with their own two hands. Whether you're a rancher, a business owner, or just someone who loves quality American-made gear, check out Ezra Tech Ranch Gear at EzraTechGear.com. To get a 10% discount, use promo code CHARLY10. That's CHARLY10. EzraTechGear.com, where craftsmanship meets enterprise and the future is being built one tool at a time.
Yeah, when the chemistry lines up and the head horse gets to start where gives them an easy shot to set them up fast. And, that's what's so difficult, I think, too, also about team roping is, what does that guy rope like? What does that guy? Well, he roped good and then his horse went down and then he had to find something else and the horse is aiming as good. So you don't get to see the kid rope as good anymore because of the vulnerability of what it takes to make sure that you're mounted. There's so many things that happen that out of your control, a lot of times roping and horses can be one of them, abscess, pulled muscle, things like that. And so that's what, it's so up and down a lot of times on how a guy's career is, and then draw. I've seen some of the, best guys out there too, where, when you look at Coleman Proctor and Logan, you've seen horses go down, you've seen some horrible drawing after a while. And, from guys that, almost won the world last year to, trying to just get in the buildings, how wild is that? It's not their roping ability, this how important those horses that fit their run and fit their chemistry and being able to draw something you win on. And there's times, man, you're like so stuck in the mud and it feels like quicksand. The harder you try to get out, the more you sink. And we've all been through those seasons and through those. No one's too good for those ruts. You know what I mean? Like everyone's going to go through them. And, when I look at Coleman and say, Logan, next year something's going to happen. There's going to be a head horse. There's going to be a heel horse. Something's going to happen. And all of a sudden when they go to dinging them, they'll be back. And so, looking at it from the outside, looking in, it's easy to see, but man, I bet in the middle of it, it's like, God, is this quicksand ever going to quit rising?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, and now, if you start at Reno and get smoked in the first round at Reno, which I think we've all been there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can feel like the weight of the world came down on your shoulders. And I think that, like, you got to now, with the way the money is, the way the rodeos are, I mean, it's essentially better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
They say it takes a lot to make the NFR. It does, but the winning scale, which I think you could attest to this, Charlie, even since you rodeoed, it's the same. It's just the rodeos pay more. You still do good at the same places. It's just the money's better. So
and I look at it too. It's faster. I'm not one of them guys saying that, oh, I can hang with it. No, you guys have gotten so damn fast. Like for me, watching Luke Brown still freaking just putting them haymakers on him out there, man, in his 50s. Like, I love that shit. I love it. I love seeing that. Like for me, you guys are so fast. It has gotten so, and there's so many people that are so fast. The timing of when headers are getting that rope up and when they're hitting the line and being ready to rope and getting that steer and making them hit the end of it. And heelers now, there is however many that can just rip that first hop. And also too, I would say this is the only thing I will say that's maybe a little bit different than when I was rodeoing. They're letting y'all throw finally.
Yeah.
They're letting you guys throw. You know what I mean? Like there's so many of them to where I remember watching runs and I'm like, ooh, that was close. And I look at the flagger, because you're wondering, okay, is he going to give it to him or not? And then there's ones you knew that like when they just crossed over and through, you're like, yeah, he ain't going to give him that.
It was blatant.
And now they're letting guys throw where it's gotten fast and it's fun as shit to watch. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy fast heeling because that's what I was always looking for. So I love guys crawling over the top, man, and freaking pulling them back in the first row. And but man, your guys' run though, like when I watch it, from Puyallup to Cheyenne, which is two completely opposite setups, to Pendleton, just pulling off shots on the grass. First one looks like he was hopping fast. Those are got to be the hardest ones on the grass. Getting ahead of it and then having to worry about your horse not falling. And then in the short round, at least you guys got on the dirt, but that sucker did a dirty on y'all.
Oh man.
And at least you got to throw on the dirt. But then
Yeah, exactly.
when that sucker did suck under you, you've had to pull shots off, and you guys done a good job of staying consistent. I think throughout this whole thing, where now going to the Governor's Cup, you got Mona, you got two left, right?
Yeah, we're entered at Sanborn and Poway. Hopefully,
Is that on
hopefully,
Sunday?
yeah, we'll be at Sanborn Sunday. Hopefully not though. Yeah.
So basically, you got Mona tomorrow, and then from Mona, so you guys got rigs. So you guys probably got a couple rigs out there right now, then, correct?
Well, we're actually mounting out tomorrow at Mona.
Okay.
We had a set of horses that we took to Pasadena, and then
So is that where I seen where Luke's got Chad's old paint horse?
he actually rode Tucson, the old bay that he used to ride with Hunter a little bit.
Okay.
I think it's the only rodeo he rode him at all year. He rode him at Pasadena, and he's got the paint and Buddha.
The gray.
Yeah, and
What will
Sioux
he
Falls.
ride? What he'll ride the gray at Sioux Falls?
I presume. I
And
know he's done good on him there the last 2 years. So.
what about your herd? Because you've always got some good ones under you.
Well, it started really good, and then we've I had some, I had Sugar Daddy, which was a chestnut that he won the horse of the BFI a couple years ago. I guess to date it back, I got my old horse Dude I've rode forever. I got him back in January. Got to crack him out, and then I've actually rode him more this year than I anticipated because I had 3 others tear suspensories. So he's actually handled it really well. He's 18 years old. He's been amazing. I think he thrives just rodeo, and I mean, he absolutely loves it. You unload him out of the trailer, and he's ready to run one all the time. He just fits me. I don't know how else to put it. I don't know that I'll ever find a horse that fits me that good again. So he's in fact, when at Puyallup, the final day, I said, "This is probably your last trip to Puyallup, buddy." Like, and I told him at Omaha, I was like, "This is it," And then at Mandan, I'm like, "You never even been here, but it's been a good ride," and so, getting to ride him at Sioux Falls is pretty exciting. It's kind of special. My godmother owns him, Joyce Tisdall. They've had several horses in training with us through the years, but it's obviously deeper than that. They're pretty well a second pair of grandparents to me. And she survived breast cancer twice. Joyce did. The first horse, we had a horse named Check This Dooley that JD won the super horse on. That was their horse. That was when she was battling breast cancer, so that was a really neat deal. And then Dude was next on the roster. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a blessing. They've went a lot of places, watched me ride him, and it's just there's so much more to. I think you know a little bit about that, Charlie. Is like you think about how you get to these points, and not even just roping or the miles or whatever, but like all the people that wait to hear from you the next morning when you get there to let them know you made it okay, or they're excited to watch you and just love you just from love in their heart. And I think that's what I was thinking about. I was going to ask you, like, before you run a steer at the NFR anywhere back when you were rodeoing, like for me, I absolutely love Al Pacino's speech on Any Given Sunday in the locker room when he's talking about pretty well how he's pissed all his money away, and I don't know if you recall that or if you've seen it, but like, or Billy Bob Thornton and Friday Night Lights, Coach Gary Gaines giving the speech about being perfect. I've had Luke and I have listened to those together a couple times. And like, if I'm sitting by myself, I'll be honest, I'm an emotional person. So like, if I'm sitting by myself and I listen to those, as I do a lot, like I tear up, and it's not even, it's not fear. It's just like how powerful that is. And it's just like, holy cow, like,
Yeah. Well, it can be fuel, I feel like.
Absolutely. And I think it keeps things in perspective. Like it'll slow your mind down just a little bit. Like put in perspective, like live for the moment. Like live for now, and I think that's versus, like going to the Governor's Cup this week. I've never been there. I've never even had a sniff of going to the Governor's Cup. So for me, it's like, how cool is this? We get to rope for a lot of money, like that. I mean, there's 100 teams entered the next week at Rosenberg, so there's 88 of those that would like to be there.
Right.
So how cool is that? And I told Luke last night at where were we? Pasadena. I said, hey, no matter what happens this week, man, I want you to know that I thank you for everything. Like, this has been a good ride. Like, and he's like, it's going to be good. I said, no matter what, it's going to be good. Like,
yeah,
we've been in this for the long haul. In fact, I actually didn't rope very good there for a couple weeks. And I tried to get him to quit me. Like, Luke, my horses are crippled, man. Like, I'm having trouble. I thought I'd crippled dude at one point, too. And I'm like, I got nothing. I had no confidence. And I'm like, dude, you just need to, if you can get somebody else, because the books were opening for Caldwell at that point. And I said, you need to do it. Like, please, just, you need to go make the NFR, because what I got going over here ain't working, And he said, no, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. We started this, we're going to finish it, no matter what. I said, well, I want you to know I'll give you 150% every time. And then, but I said, I can't. I don't know what's going to take place. Well, then it, once I kind of got back on, I was in a dark place there for a minute. Kind of my old paradigm was biting at me. And then I got back on track with Lyman, which I tend to not be the most consistent person about that. It's weird. You would think when it's going good, I wouldn't be invested. It's like when it's going bad sometimes, then I'm like, I just want to clam up. So that's when I should take full advantage. I don't. So anyhow, we fast forward to.
Well, how much confidence did that give you when Luke says that, though? Like, no, we're in this. Like when he's in. Like for me, that's one thing Logan did with me was like, I remember in 19, I roped worse than I ever roped. I'm like, look, man, I get it. So you need to find someone else. You're rolling, man. I'm at the end of my career, and I'm not sure what I've got going on next year. And he was like, dude, there's plenty more in the tank, man. He's like, I know you can rope better. I can rope better. We get home, we get the next couple of days, get it lined out. He said, next year's our year. Like to me, that for a young kid coming up, man, that lit my fire. Like for me, that was huge confidence. So like when he was saying that to you, how much confidence did that give you? Because for me, that takes a little bit of the pressure off. Is like I don't have to look around my shoulder. I can go rope.
Yeah, it was good, and I think actually the best part of it was the fact that I think human nature would be to look for, you're like, well, good enough, we're going to turn around tomorrow, and then we went to Casper and it didn't go good. We went to Sheridan, it didn't go good. So now we're the Spanish Fork week, or went to Salinas. I roped a leg on the third steer. We placed in the last round. Well, now it's like, and we had made it back at Cheyenne already. So I think that's when, and another thing that happened too was I went and roped with Garrett Tanazi for a couple of days right before I went to Salinas, and I was obviously a little bit head case, and I consider Garrett my friend, and Garrett, I was talking to him, and long story short, he said, man, I truly think once you learn to just have fun, no matter what takes place, have fun, enjoy being out there, you'll be amazed what takes place. Because he said, I honestly never did. He said, I had fun doing other things other than roping when I was rodeoing. So anyhow, when I left for Salinas, I made the decision, no matter what, we're going to have a good time. Well, we go to Salinas, hardly win anything. We make it back Monday at Cheyenne. We're headed to Salt Lake. And we're driving along there, and Luke pulls up the ground rules for Calgary. Calgary's opening that week, or the following week. And it says top 15 in the world from the current year will get in Calgary. And at this point, I done made up my mind what we're doing. Like Lyman always tells me, the most powerful thing a human can do is make a decision. Well, I made a decision that we will make Calgary. I hadn't even looked at the standings. I didn't know what it took. I didn't care. Like, nobody can tell me otherwise. And I want to say we was 20,000 out at this point. And I said, well, we're going to be in the top 15 next week. And Luke kind of turned and looked at me like, and I said, I promise you, if I have anything to say about this and I'm roping with you, we will be in the top 15. Well, come Sunday afternoon when it was all said and done at Cheyenne, when we entered Calgary, we got in. So I do think that between Luke telling me that, me kind of pulling my crap together, and it just fell into place. I mean, so all that being said, when Calgary felt out of reach, for instance, like we prevailed, and Sioux Falls, it's been kind of up and down if we were going to get in. I mean, hit and miss. We, I think looking back, what saved us is there was a lot of times I cost us making a short round, but the average points go to 20th, so we might end up 15th in the average, but we got points. So anyway, against all odds, I guess you could say, we're in Sioux Falls. So there's nobody telling me that we're not as good a team as anybody there, that we can't win the rodeo, and I have my mind made up. Like, we're gonna do good. You know what I mean? That's just why wouldn't we go there thinking that? I don't know.
Yeah, when you talk about like when a guy's winning, I remembered like when one of the things I remember, because I went and took a course with a guy named Lanny Basham. One of the best competition books I ever read was a book called With Winning in Mind. He was an Olympic shooter. I loved that book. Audio book's great. And I went and took a couple courses with him and stuff. And one of the biggest questions that I was asked was like, man, when I was like in the zone, man, I was hard to beat. When I was in the zone, man, my mind was so quiet. And then kind of like Tin Cup, I wanted to know what created the shanks.
Right.
What out of nowhere all of a sudden is your ball just sliced that way? You know what I mean? Out of nowhere, right? Why all of a sudden I was go splitting the horns? Why all of a sudden now I'm missing the right horn? How can it go that fast? Like, how can you get out of that groove that fast? And because that's what I remembered was like, man, when I would be zoning, man, and I would just be in the groove and how quiet my mind was. And then like if I missed one or two or three, then it was like when the chain falls off the bike and you're pedaling your ass off, you ain't getting nowhere. Like that's when the mind started just like trying to find like, what the hell's going on? What's going on? Then you're so dang in your head and busy. And then it seemed like, and then one run later, and then you get back in the groove, then everything quiets down. It's like, well, why couldn't I just did that when I was missing? And it was just a lot of the same thing you talked about. It was like when I had too much of an outcome mindset that if I don't win, then, I'm not going to, then that's when you get in your head, as opposed to like where he would have me sitting right down my process. Like when and where I would start my rope, when and where I would want to ride to the box. Where am I trying to get in time? Because he had a pretty good idea of roping. And so like that's what I guess his mental deal was when he would shoot. He was an Olympic shooter. And he would have this process down. And when he would pick up the gun, he called it the preload. He would visualize the shot he was going to make like 20 times in his mind before he would take that shot. And he would just get up there and kind of go through his little deal and bam, and hit the bullseye. And it was good because it kind of, for me, it helped take a lot of the shit that didn't matter out of your head where you're focused on what you were going to do. Because I think for me, I focused too much on the don'ts. Mine was, that's how my dad kept me alive. Charlie, don't stick your finger in the light socket. Charlie, don't walk behind that horse. You're going to get your head kicked off. Don't date that girl. You know what? It was always don't. You did it anyway, right? And
right.
Like everything was such a don't mentality. And that was his way of keeping me alive. Well, the problem that I started finding out was when I was entering and walking the box, and I'm telling myself, don't break out, don't split the horns, don't do something stupid, don't fall off, don't lose your hat, whatever it is. Well, I was still visualizing it. Even though I said
absolutely.
don't, even though I said don't, I was still seeing it. I was still seeing that picture in my mind. And he would show me like how to focus on things that you were wanting to do. And so I'd
Mm-hmm.
have to like focus on like where the moving parts of the run were. So in my mind, I was visualizing what I was going to do. And I grew up with around Jake Barnes, Clay, Clay Tryon, and those guys, and you'd hear them guys talk, and they would always say what they were going to do. And what I noticed was when I would say don't, how almost like much self doubt you would have to take a step forward when you say don't. You almost, I could feel the self doubt creeping. And then when you tell yourself what you're going to do, it's like you felt the monkey come off your back and you're focused on what your plan was. That's where I think I struggled the most, was getting over that, to where I was almost too scared to mess up as opposed to thinking about going and doing my job. And then most of the time that was usually good enough to win. And
Yeah,
those were some of the things that helped me out a lot.
absolutely. No, it's. I mean, we can look outside the roping and the rodeo industry. I would think, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Ray Allen, who to me is, Steph Curry might be the best shooter of all time now, but Ray Allen was amazing. Um, one time they interviewed Ray Allen and said, you missed that 3-pointer. How's it feel to cost your team Boston lost in the finals? And he said, I didn't miss. It just didn't go in the basket. Like, I called my shot. Larry Bird would tell people what he was going to do, his opponents. Like, I'm going to dribble twice, and I'm going to fade away, and I'm going to make the basket, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, and I would, there's people that are more vocal about it, I think, than others, but it all goes back to what you were talking about. I think is when your mind slowed down, is I refer to it as what Lyman calls it's the flow state, when your mind, body, and soul is in a line.
Yeah.
And you can breathe, and but how exciting is it to me? I mean, there was nothing more exciting than for me as a kid to watch JoJo Lamont have the biggest chew in the world in his lip, whipping bull with the brightest rope and the biggest hat at the NFR, and just, I mean, all these moving parts. So there's a misconception for kids watching at home too, like, I got to be that guy.
Yeah.
But there was no doubt that JoJo had it played out in his mind what he was fixing to do.
Yeah. And everybody's wired different.
Absolutely.
Like for me, I struggled because I played football and I loved football. Like when you're talking about all those things you listen to, I listen to that same stuff too. I one of the things too, and I was an emotional guy too. So I always loved watching 8 seconds at the end when Lane died, and he comes back and rides that bull the extra 8 seconds. I mean, you would just,
Oh, it builds you up, doesn't it?
you just like, man, just give me a time to where I can just rise up, man. And what I started having a problem with when I was figuring out was like, that shit worked great in football, but it was too much emotion for me when I was roping. I was almost on the rage stage. Like it worked great. Like if I was, playing linebacker and I had to run through somebody, that's where it helped. But like when I was trying to rope, it was too much. Like I'd borderline go like listen to AC/DC right before you go in the box. You just run by the steer and break out.
Yeah, exactly.
Too much.
Yeah.
Got too
Hell's
excited.
bells. Maybe if you're riding the bull.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me, that was like, all right, how do I slow this down, man, where there's some feel to it? Because I almost thought about it like golf. Like if you had a 6-foot putt to make, but you're raging like a guy about to power lift 400 pounds, like you're going to knock the ball off the course, not the green, but the course, right? So like,
Yeah,
how do you get sharp, but then also still have feel?
Well, and I actually, when I first started my training with Lyman, I'm a Kobe Bryant fan. I mean, I believe in the Mamba mentality. I think he's just a class act, or was, but in fact, in my trailer, I have a Kobe Bryant quote hung up on my wall that, I mean, I see it however many times a day. So I talked to Lyman about that, like I told him about Tiger Woods, like he literally wanted to embarrass his opponents, right? So kind of what you're talking about, like if you're, like give me some rage and I'm going to take it out, like, but you're better off going in the cage than roping a steer, honestly, trying to fight Brock Lesnar. But what Lyman explained it to me, and it makes sense. He said roping is more of an art than a sport. like you develop the craft.
I agree
So
with that. Mm-hmm.
so like, a lot of people run 100 steers a day in their mind. That's how, they have the mentality of a grinder. That's what triggers them for their belief system that they're great. What I've learned is, for me, I do need to rope every day, and I do. Like, I love to practice. In fact, I've learned to love it more lately, since just purely the fact of loving roping again, which there was a time when I didn't for a minute. But like, it's all these other things for me that I need to that is going to help my game get better, I think.
Does he feel like golf is an art as well?
He does. He
That
now
would
I've
make
tried
sense
to.
because I feel like there's similarities between the two.
Yeah, and I've tried to. I just took up golf this spring, and I watched a lot of it, and I think it's awesome. And I've tried to make comparisons when I talk to him about golf to roping, but he says that it's not at all the same, because there's too many moving parts in roping.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that
yeah.
there's
The roping's
similarities to the
different.
mental part of it,
Yeah,
but he said that you can't change the fact that when the gates bang at the rodeo or team roping, you don't know what's fixing to take place. I mean, it's like Speedy says, there you get your steer drawn even when you have a rerun, and you think you know what's fixing to take place, but there's 180,000 possible outcomes.
right,
So you plan for every single outcome, but when the gates bang, you don't know what's fixing to take place.
right. It's reactions to it. I
Yep.
like the swing. I like the feel of the club and being able to know where you're going to put your ball. Like to me, like that relates a lot with your swing in the head or the swinging on the head and then even the heeling. Like to be able to know where the technique of how to put the rope where you want it. To me, that's where I like that where it relates. I also think it's a lot like basketball because I think of like Kobe Bryant, like how many hours earlier he got to the game before everyone else and he would talk about the amount of shots that he would take because he knew when that ball hit his hand there was a split second that he had to react to know exactly how far that rim was, to know exactly how far and how much power and arc to put on that ball where it's going to drop. And to me, like that made more sense. Like now when you get the layup and you're say like Sinagini, I've used this example so many times, like Sinagini and Bueller this year at Reno, high team back had to be 8. To me, that's a free throw shot, man.
Mm-hmm.
You hit the start, rate your horse off, rope, set him up, bam. We've done that shit our whole lives. That's a free throw shot. Now,
Yep.
after that, now it's like moving the ball around the court, like Kobe said. When you hit the line, that steer might be over there, might be over here, might be over here, might slow down. Like there's so many variables, like you said. So it's so many instincts that you've got to be able to like read. And healing is more than heading, I think, because they can hop fast, they can suck under, they can hit. There's so many ways too where you've got to be ahead of it too. Where then after that, now it's instinctive. Now, like once I feel like you nod your head, the thinking's over. Now it's the reactions. How good is your fundamentals where you can ride to a spot, and if that zero don't hit that way, now how are you going to react and pull that shot off in a split second? So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I think a lot of like basketball kind of comes in because it's so fast. When that ball hits your hand, it's a split second to react. No different than for a lot of guys that get to the jackpot and they run up there and that steer ducks his head to the right. It's going to be a split second to react and change your swing, change your angle, and be able to stay in the average or stay in the roping. So
That's right.
I think there's a lot to also not only with the mental game, but then also being able to practice all the things that can happen. I remember Clay Cooper one time, was talking about getting in position, getting in position. He's like, yeah, that's great, but what happens when you don't?
Yeah.
Can you pull that shot off? Because the chances of you riding perfect position every single time, especially rodeoing, especially at Mandan when it's muddy, you know what I mean? Like horses are slipping. Pendleton, that's short round. That's your sucking under you. That's to me, that's the playmaking ability I've seen that you're able to pull off because when the free throw shots there, man, like Cheyenne, that sucker, that was a heel shot. And then when that steer stays in the middle of Puyallup, to me, that was over before it even started, but then also too is in making shots up too, when you've got to make those reactions. That's important as well.
Well, and that being said, I appreciate that. But the one that I thought was really cool the other day at Mandan, um, which that they had a pretty good steer. It looked like, but Kyle Dennison, Lane Mitchell looks like bartender might have ducked a little right there. Maybe got dropped his front end a little. Maybe just got hung up. I couldn't really tell,
Mm-hmm.
but Steer wipes out. Lane is too tight, and you're like, if as a healer when you're watching, and I'm sure you're the same way. Just because you healed some, but you've roped so much, you understand it. Is like when that happens, you like you.
Yeah. Well, I got PTSD because I can't tell you how many healers I put in that situation. I'm like,
Right.
that's not good.
So he turns in and he gets close, and you're like, and then all of a sudden he just levels off, changes the angle of his rope, takes one more and bags him. Kyle Dennison hollers because essentially it probably punched their ticket to the Thomas and Mack. How cool is that?
That was like a fadeaway double teamed.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm like, don't take. Oh yeah, that was a good shot. Man, that was a good shot. Yeah.
You're like, oh.
Yeah.
And but that's probably what Clay Cooper's talking about is being able to be ropey. That's pretty important. Just drop it down here, pick it up over here, whatever you got to do to pull through at times. I do think the Britt Buckus marksman position, I do think that that's the answer to being an elite healer, but you better have something to bring to the table with it because, especially like you're saying, the way the steers are, as fast as it is now, and I mean, when you got to be short 4 to even 5 flat, the header can only do so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're trying to survive, really. It's get out of the barrier, get it on him, and get out of Dodge. So
you think about the variables at Pendleton. I mean, gosh dang, to be able to pull money out of that one when you really need it, that's one of the hardest places in the world. First of all, your box. There's one. Second of all, you're blind pretty much till he blows by you. Somebody's hollering, but you still got, there's a lot of reactions, even just trying to get the start.
Gauge it, right?
Next, you're on the grass. And then now you don't know if you got the loper. The good steer there is actually rare. The steer going left, dropping his head, going off over there. I mean, they are all over the place. And like I said, you're on grass. I mean, there is a ton of variables at Pendleton. Right. So to come out of that one, what did you guys win? Almost 8,000?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a lot of street ball, I think, to be able to pull that out at Pendleton.
Well, it was kind of when we got to the short round, our first steer we kind of knew would be middle of the road, and I did take a pretty decent start at him heeling. I was like, I don't want him to go right. If he's going to be medium plus, like last thing we need to do is go that way. So when we made a good run, the second one, that steer we knew would go left a little bit. I think we both had it in our mind, just make the short round.
Yeah.
And the main reason was we didn't want to drive to Albuquerque to rope the next night. We wanted to wait till Sunday. So, and then let's see, the short round. It was kind of a double-edged sword with our short round steer. The first time he had went left pretty good, and the second time Dustin and JC had him, and I think it looked like on the video maybe it was intentional, but JC was a little bit late. And Dustin did what Dustin does, and 3 coals and like half head steer, but he was dead straight. And when he threw, he peeled off to the right a little bit, but it just hooked him and he turned. So it's like, in my mind, what I was thinking is we're 6th call. And this is probably bad psychology, but I'm like, if we need to make a run when we go, if we got to be, sub 6 flat, I'm going to leave him alone a little bit because let's just take the chance. Like, leave him alone a little bit. And if Luke drills the barrier, he's going to be not too far from him. We might be 5-2.
Right.
But there was no clean runs when we went. And I said, I'll be damned if this sumbitch going to go right. So I took a pretty stout start. I was like, we ain't, if we're going to catch him, we're not going to catch him over there on the right side of the track. So I might have overstepped him a little bit, but Luke was he's like, no, dude, I'm telling you, that was the best plan. That was the best thing that happened all day. So, anyway, that was probably the wrong logic, but I was like, hell no, I ain't letting this sucker go that way. But if we got to be 5 flat, I might let him go right. I don't know if that doesn't probably make sense, but you've been there. You kind of get like, if it shapes up straight away there, it's fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's rare. Because then steers, like I said, whether they breakaway calves or calf roping calves the year before,
Right.
And they've been rodeoed on since probably sisters.
Right.
So it's the end of the year, and so they've learned how to get tricky, and they've learned how to get out of it, and they've blitzed so many times where they've been 3, then they've been 4, then they've been 5, and then they're and then like I say, it's on grass. So
Yeah.
variables matter a lot.
Right.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to share something with you that I'm very proud of. As a clinician, my goal has always been to give you the tools to get better, and that's exactly what I had in mind when I built my online course, The Basics of Roping. I've got over 2 hours of instruction, everything from a frame-to-frame breakdown of the swing to dummy drills that'll get you ready for just about anything in the arena, plus tips on rope selection and care. Think of it like a clinic you can carry with you. You can pull it up anytime, anywhere, right from your phone or computer. Just head on over to charlycrawford.training, click on the course tab, and get signed up. Let's keep leveling up wherever you are.
Well, man, that's gonna be cool, man, to be able to be there. And when you talk about being able to go to Mona, then the Governor's Cup, run 2 steers. So basically, if you don't make the short round at the Governor's Cup, you've got 2 bullets left at Pasadena and San Bernardino, California, correct?
Well, we'll have to turn out at Poway, but San Bern, and then I think there's one more we can enter somewhere, like the last day of the season. I don't know. Luke kind of had something brewed up there, but we hadn't really touched on all that yet.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is the guy does good at the good one, then you don't have to worry about the others. But
Exactly.
it is wild though that time of year. Who all is kind of on the outside or on the inside. Like say, I know Sinigeni, he didn't make the Governor's Cup. There's a few guys on the outside. I know Shea Carroll. There's some guys. They got their partners all out there. What all rodeos they got entered. Have you been paying attention with some of them guys?
I talked to Shea a little bit just for briefly last night. He was at Pasadena last night, and him and Levi was winning third. They were 4-5, and maybe second. There was 4-4, 4-5, yeah. And then I know he was entered at Mona and maybe the California Rodeos in Stephenville. I don't know what Synergy's got going. Obviously, Tyler Trine's got Sioux Falls. The Heelan, it looks to me essentially you got Jonathan and Caden who are 11th and 12th maybe, 12th, 13th. I'm not sure. I haven't looked that die hard, but then
because Caden's 14th, so they're headed all trains, planes, and automobiles, correct?
Yep, and then you got Nikki, myself, Denton Dunning, and Doug Rich all at
Sioux Falls.
And the crazy part about it, to me, it's going to be amazing because you look at the oddball teams, even Dustin and Will, they put on a show at Puyallup.
Mm-hmm.
So there's them. Then you got Tanner and Colby, who they've roped 1 million steers together. I think they've jackpot a lot. They're good friends, so this isn't unfamiliar for them. And then essentially you have all really good teams. So I mean, Jake and Doug are. I don't know that they ever miss, especially jackpotting.
Yeah.
So, and then you got Tyler and Denton, and liable to win the BFI, liable to win.
Looks like Den's on the outside at 16th with the Governor's Cup. Dougie Fresh, he's 18th with 99. You're at 15th with 106. Dougie's got the Governor's Cup. Hunter Cook's back there at 94, but he's got to go to all the ones out west. Big Cheese, Wyatt Cox with 101. And he's probably everything, I would say, from Pasadena, Mona, San Bernardino, Poway. Is there some other ones that they're going to other than those?
I don't know, but the one thing I do know is if anybody can win first at every single one of them, it's Lightning and Wyatt.
Big Cheese, man. That run at Bremerton, gosh. And even Albuquerque.
Oh yeah.
Dude.
You know what's sad is you ought to be the team right after him at Bremerton. You're like you're fixing to ride in. You're like, I got a decent steer. I could see 4-5, 4-6, and we were, but the steer wasn't very good. But you're fixing to ride in, and you watch that unfold, and you're like, I'm a long ways from home for second. I mean, it's just you know how it is. You've made runs where there's no way it'll get beat, right? Like,
Yeah, I've watched them. I've rarely done them. I've watched them, and when I watched that one, I'm like, that's first.
exactly.
Down near 3.5, man, it'd be hard to, no matter the NFR or not. But that was a barrier in 3.5, and the same thing. When those guys connect, it's gonna be first because surely they won Albuquerque at 3.5 too, correct?
Yeah, and then another one, I think they won first. It was an amazing run. I happened to be there that night too. Was Tremont.
Mm.
It was the same week, like just bang, bang.
Yeah.
Like,
Is that Salt Lake?
What's that?
Is that Salt Lake?
No, I don't know. It was.
I forget. They were Salt Lake last week too. There's one.
They might have. Yeah, they might have went to Salt Lake. I don't know what they.
Yeah,
what they did there.
So this week, basically, for everyone you can think of, then would be the Governor's Cup, Mona, Pasadena, Poway, San Bernardino. Those are kind of the main ones.
Yeah, and I know that I think Bakersfield's going on. I don't know who has another rodeo to spare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a wild finish, man. It's gonna be a wild finish. What? So like when you grew up, I mean, this had to be a lot of the I would say the confidence you've had in horsemanship, the horses that you're riding now, the confidence that you've had. I mean, it's rare if any team roper has ever been third generation. We go back to Dick Yates, legendary, great horses. Then your dad, 21 time to the NFR, rope with your dad at the NFR. One of the few times that's even happened. And then also too, where your dad made it at 15 years old. And then here you come, third generation. And then also your aunt Kelly, I mean, that's your guys' name is truly legendary on an iconic, horses, NFRs, rodeo family. Talk about a little bit what it was like growing up, having, being the third generation to get you kind of where you're at this point today.
Well, so a little backstory is my mom lives in New Mexico. I got two younger brothers and a younger sister on my mom's side down there. So I lived there till I was turning 11. So to explain the gullibility of me, still to this day about some things, but as far as roping, I would spend 6 weeks in the summer with my dad when I was a kid. And that was the only time I ever saw roping. So I was convinced, honest to God, that the only people in the world that roped were in that arena. So, I mean, that's the only place I ever saw it. Well, then I went to a rodeo. I think the first rodeo I ever went to was Estes Park. I think JD was healing for Lance Fillmore, and I went with them to go to there in Sheridan. I remember I had a TV with a DVD player, or with a VHS player I kept on the center console. That was kind of my entertainment. I don't know if it was so I'd leave them alone or what, but that's what I had. And so anyway, I saw these guys rope there, and I'm like, you mean to tell me there's other people in the world that can catch? Like, I didn't know that was even a thing. So I obviously had no clue really anything about it. So then when I turned, long story short, I turned 11, moved in with my dad, started roping a little bit, but when I was about 16, that's when I got pretty serious about it. I guess I had a lot of influential people in my life too. When I think about people like Rick and Jimmy Joe Montero. Jimmy Joe texted me the other day at Mandan, told me good luck. And I just think of all those cool stories that when I was a kid, those are the people I roped with. But anyway.
Some of the greatest people right there.
They're awesome. Yeah. But so I guess probably the most, one thing that not a lot of people know nowadays about my family is probably the most resilient person, I would say, out of the three competitors. My grandma, she did all the entering for my dad and my granddad back in the day. She did all the entering, took care of all the books, entered my aunt. And my granddad would call her from a payphone, and she'd say, "You go here on this day, here on this day," and he'd say, "Okay."
Wow.
Any trade she took care of. She was the matriarch for sure. But probably the most resilient one of all of them, and I say this wholeheartedly, would be my Aunt Kelly. So I can't remember the year, but I want to say it was 1986. They're still the only father, son, daughter trio to make the NFR in the same year. I think it was 86. I can't remember. So the following year, at I think it was Sterling, Colorado, at the rodeo. The way I understand the story, she was the first barrel racer out. I can't remember if it was perf or slack, what it was. And I guess there's conversations that the gate will either be left open or will be shut for the gals running home. And they said it was going to be open. So she runs the barrel pattern. Well, they'd closed the gate. And she obviously was hauling butt, headed home, and didn't see that the gate was closed. And her horse tried to jump the gate. Anyway, she was in a coma for, I want to say, 6 to 8 weeks. They flight for life her to Denver. And it was a very traumatic brain injury. And she had to learn how to, she started her life completely over. Walk, talk, read, write, you name it. She had to do it over. And then she came back to make the finals 3 more times and was a reserve world champion. Firewater Fiesta was her mare.
Yeah, I remember Firewater.
And she went down in the 9th round, I think. She had to keep the barrels up the next 2 nights to be the world champion. I think she went down in the 9th round, and it crippled her. But my aunt, she shouldn't have even been alive. And to think that she had a chance to be a world champion years later, trained some amazing horses, and still to this day, I mean, she makes the circuit finals at 66 years old, 67 will be next month. Against all odds, she weighs 90 pounds and rides 1,200-pound, 1,300-pound running off barrel horses. It's just like, what an amazing story to me that not a lot of people know. You know, that not a lot of people have had to deal with. I admire my grandma, my grandpa, my dad for being there by her side through that. And it's like, I haven't dealt with anything like that. So I wouldn't even understand what that's like. So just, I don't know where I'm going with this, but that resilience wise in my family, that's probably the coolest one. I couldn't imagine how hard it was on my granddad, you know, and my grandma, but and I guess, you know, I actually saw you won Pendleton. Is that right? Charlie? Yeah. So like another thing I appreciate about a lot of competitors now is now that I've went, you know, I guess I didn't realize how hard it was to win a PRCA rodeo. It doesn't matter if there's 1,000 added to me or there's no such thing as an easy rodeo. I think that you can go to the world's biggest amateur rodeo and go to Steamboat. And for some reason, Steamboat being a pro rodeo, this is my opinion, it has a different weight level on it. So, like, I actually read that article. I thought that was really cool. Like, you know, you needed to win Pendleton, got it done. I think that I just admire people, like I said, roping wise second, but to think of prevailing to overcome obstacles to get things done, like you win in Pendleton. I mean, you've talked about how difficult it is. That's amazing. I didn't even realize now until, you know, I'd never made the short round at Pendleton till this year. I made it twice in the steer roping and never did good in the short round. And yet JD's got a thing that there's like 5 guys who have won the steer roping 3 times at Pendleton. You know, Buster Record, Guy Allen, him, I can't remember who else. And it's like, it takes Trevor, look at what he's done. Ty Murray. And it's like, holy cow. So beside the fact that all those guys are great guys, like to overcome that, their mental game is amazing. Their ability is amazing. You know, and I would say that what a lot of people don't understand about the way I grew up, I never had any pressure put on me. You know, the only stipulation I had, I'm a social butterfly. So junior rodeo to me was about going and hanging out with my buddies. I really didn't have no expectation, didn't care. But then I'd get mad. It's like, then I'd get mad when I didn't do good. Well, what'd you expect? You didn't do anything this week. I'd ride my horse. That was the only thing I was told to do. You have to keep your horse in shape if you're going to go to the rodeo. And, I think all that being said, when I did turn 16, 17 and decided I wanted to do it, JD helped me. But it was never like, son, you need to get out there and rope. You're going to be a healer. You're going to rope. You're going to rope calves. You're going to do this. You're going to do that.
So you didn't get burdened with it. You didn't get burnt out with it. It was something to where if you want to do this, here it is. And then when you decided you wanted to do it, all right, well, let's go. Yeah, that makes sense because our stories are pretty similar. Other than I didn't have a legendary grandpa and dad, but like my mom and dad, they were never married. I was kind of on the outside in, and stuff like that. And, but you talk about the amount of guys that came from the outside and made it. That's the majority of people. I rarely see guys that made the NFR and their kids made it. I think because they almost seen the struggle and they were around it so much, you're almost immune to it. So you're kind of outside of it for quite a while of it till all of a sudden then you talk about you're 11 and then all of a sudden 16 and then you're seeing all this stuff. And so you probably it was like for me, I loved the freedom. I love the guys that come in and stay at our house because, I lived in Canby. And then, the guys from St. Paul would show up, from Canby would show up. I got to rope with Leo Camarillo, Jake and Clay stay at the house. Mike Beer's in there all the time. And the stories these guys, man, would tell. Oh, I loved it, man. Talking about going from this one, going to that one, getting in a rent-a-car, passing this guy, running down the wrong side of the street, and then get in there, jump the fence, get on a horse 30 saddle and win the rodeo and take the victory lap. I'm like, that's the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like,
exactly.
There's no way that you can try to talk me into being an engineer, working at Les Schwab. This is what I want to do. So you did kind of have a little bit of that to where it was kind of an experience. It wasn't something you brought up in, but like it was almost an experience to kind of see that stuff, huh?
Yeah, and just like you're saying, like during Pueblo, obviously a couple of the guys, JD was done rodeoing full time by then, but like we'd have, like I remember you came to the house and roped. So all the guys I saw on the Hort Dog tapes, that was what it was about for me. You and I remember Travis Tryon and Brock Cresta, Spencer Mitchell, Dakota, they've all stopped by and you're just like, I seen this dude on the Hort Dog. This guy made the top 50 at the straight with so-and-so. How was it roping with that guy at the George Strait? And they're just like, I don't even remember it. You know what I mean? But like for me, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I want to do that someday. And I think it's just sad that all these years, lacking limitation, I haven't let myself believe I could be one of those guys. My mind's not let me do that. But I think it all goes. I was thinking about this earlier when you talked about some guys are born with that confidence. Like, I mean, my dad cannot explain to me anything about the mind game. Like, nothing. I honestly think I think there's just no way you could ever tell him he can't do it. Like, so he's just like, I mean, you can do this, but if you don't believe in yourself, it doesn't matter. We all believe in you, but you don't believe in yourself. But as far as like proving to me that there's a belief system, he's just like, I mean, you could be like, JD win Guyman, yeah, I think I won the trip in 3 or 4 times. Like, how do you do that? Like, there's no, it's just like, well, I knew I was going to do it. Like when I went there, I knew I was going to lay my steers down and I had the best tripping horse at the time or whatever the case is. And he loved the steer rope. And I think honestly, I mean, he headed and heeled great, but like watching him when he was still tripping a little bit, when me and him would go to the rodeos, it was amazing how good he could rope the horns from the tripping side. It was like there was a different level of passion. And, but he never did it full time, essentially. I mean, it was, now you got to go to 65 steer opens. It wasn't like that then. He's like, I banked on getting a third of my money at Dodge, Cheyenne, and Pendleton. And then, he'd make the finals in 15 rodeos or whatever. But, like, or, winning the BFI. It's like, now that I've went to the BFI, I'm like, son of a bitch.
And then when he did it. Yeah. Jaybird, how old were they when they won it?
They were old, man. They were
It was awesome. I loved it. I was like, how cool is that? Because they always rope good. They're always consistent, and they're always mounted. And that's a roping that has a lot to do with usually how good a horse is under you. And that's one of the things your dad always had.
Yeah. My Uncle Jay and I were pretty close at one time. This is something I want to touch on, and I hope he listens to this because I've never talked about this, but I remember the first time I made the NFR, Jay was pumped for me. And, he's like, I'm going to watch your ass. You know how Jay is, how he
Yeah,
and
100%. He's done just like him.
yeah, gets talking with his hands and all that, and so he comes over there at the house in Pueblo, gives me a hug, and I'll never forget this. But as a kid, I always admired Jay's roping. I still to this day think that he's one of the 2 feet and catchingest guys ever. Get to the inside and he could put a loop down, a huge loop. He has long arms, pretty long bodied, kind of like Al Bach has a lot of those things to his advantage. But he told me, and this is where the mind game to me comes into play. He told me, he said, I think he went 3 times to the finals. He might have just went, I think he went 3. Ellerman, my dad, and I want to say he went 3. But anyway, he said, I just roped good enough to make it a couple times, and I did that. There's no way. Nobody could ever convince me otherwise that Jay Wadhams, that's all the better he roped. You talk about later in their career, him and JD roped in 96 at the finals, and then he just dinked around. Well, they showed up at Reno in 2003 and won Reno. Hadn't been anywhere all year, just because they wanted to go to the roping. So I think they won second at Cheyenne, whatever year Jake and Walt won Cheyenne, they won second. They would and second at Denver. I remember watching all that as a kid. It's not like they're just showing, it's not like they're going to Rifle, Colorado or Eads, Colorado winning no, they would show up where the dogs were and win, not beat rodeo, and Jay, I will attest to this. It wasn't like he was working on his roping, so he roped enough to stay catching at the horse shows and do his job, but it wasn't like he was out there grinding 100 a day. So he had a strong enough mental game to show up and beat the guys when he showed up, but obviously there was something missing there that he didn't let himself reach his full potential, in my opinion. And I love him to death, but I watched him rope my whole life, and I'm telling you, that's one of the best 2-footers I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because I remember when they showed up at Reno and won it, and I was like, man, and you look at what Walt Woodard is doing, him just he won 4th or 5th of the BFI this time. You think about that guy that's kept Father Time underneath of his boot heel still to this day. It's so cool to watch them guys that love the game, love the heeling, just love working on it. And you'll say, I see your dad at Spicer Grip and always riding a good horse, runs up there where he's catching them is in the same place everyone else is winning. And those are roping, those are horse competitions. Good start, horses got game, use their horse to set up the run. Those are things that are timeless. And
yep.
That generation did a good job of developing that blueprint, because that was before all the videos. That was before the Smarties and the 4-wheelers and all these roping
videos, right? That's what Chad and I talked about Cleo and all the guys. It's amazing that they did what they did without, essentially just roping it out, right?
Just having, what they say, 33 steers. They run them through 3 times, run 100 steers a day, almost 100 steers a day, and 10 head horses lined up, 10 heel horses lined up, and just figuring out one run at a time.
Just grinding.
Yeah, grinding.
I love that.
Grinders back then, man.
There was I don't even know where I watched it, but there's Bobby Hurley and Al Bach match at Tanner Bryson's house.
It was the mega match.
The mega match. And I know that Clay is riding one of Jake's head horses.
Head horses. Yeah.
But it's I got a job. My job is to catch 2 feet. My family and I cannot eat unless I rope 2 feet on this steer. So I find a way to rope 2 feet.
All 30. Roped all 30. That was so awesome. Dude, I was such a Bobby Hurley fan, man. I wanted to grow a mullet like him. I had those big old goggles with the rope right there. I had those. Hey, I even got the blue the blue nylon breast collar that he had, like the ugly sheepskin. I had to have one because he had one. He was the coolest header, man. I loved that guy, man. He was cool. Him and Dennis Gates came to the house, man. And when I'm telling you, everyone's spitting out their water and whatever we're eating, just slapping our knee. Those are some of the best storytellers. But
I can
oh
imagine.
gosh, those guys were badass in the day, man. Full
Can
of
you
life.
imagine him and Worley? I mean, what is that?
Oh,
That's got
yeah.
to be priceless. Just be a fly on the wall.
No kidding. No
And
kidding.
it's funny, all the things that Worley shows up with, like, Hawkins or Stokers or a new head horse that, I mean, or he's got these videos of horses falling down on him and flipping over and
Yeah.
all these inventions, but yet he hasn't shown up with the breast collar. How long till that happens?
No
Surely,
lie. No lie.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't pull the Brendel out of that guy. That guy, that little leprechaun, he is so damn funny. You cannot pull the hillbilly out of him. He is hilarious, man. He makes me laugh. I enjoy every time I see him to get there and go talk with that guy because he makes me laugh. Gosh dang it, he's funny.
Oh, one time they had the matches, the X Factor switch ender.
Yeah.
So the day of, Pace calls me and he's like, "You want to come?" I'm like, I get called when nobody else wants to go. Sure, I'll go. I don't have a partner. So I call Worley. I said, "Hey, what do you think about this switch ender?" He's like, "See you there." So he calls. I'll never forget this. He called. This was when he lived right there on 281, right there north of Morgan Mill.
Yeah.
And he calls Clay Smith. He said, "Hey, I heard you're headed down to that match today." He said, "Yeah." He said, "You mind stopping by the house, picking up some of this reach? I ain't got enough rig to haul it all over there." And talk crap the entire time. I mean, there was not a team that had more fun than us that day. I promise you.
Yeah, he kills me, man. Yeah. Yeah. No backup whatsoever. That's funny. Yeah, man. You had to have seen quite a few legends in and out of there. One of the things I remembered when I've got to go to your place was the hospitality, man. Because I remember I was hitching rides back and forth. I think I'd had to hitch a ride over there. I think Garrett Jess dropped me off. I showed up with hay and some grain. And your dad said, "Here's a truck. You can stay in my house. Put your horse right here. Rope. We rope all day. We rope till a certain time. Come if you want. Sleep in. Do whatever." Man, I couldn't wait to get up the next morning and just hang out. I think I roped just a few steers. That's all my horse needed. But like, I just enjoyed the watching. I enjoyed the watching what bits got pulled out. I enjoyed watching how many they'd score, how they would maintain them. I learned so much just watching you and your dad rope, and then we go up there and your grandma had lunch made, and we
Oh
go
yeah.
we talk with Dig. Man, I enjoyed the heck out of it. Then you and your dad and I would go out to dinner, and yeah, it was fun, man. It was one of them to where it was fun watching just the family culture all just gathered in and getting work done, but it didn't feel like he was working.
Yeah, exactly. It's and my granddad's always said that we won't go to that arena and not have a good time. You know, when I talk about like my attitude, that the most disheartening thing that's ever happened to me in my life roping, uh, and it happened twice, is I used to get out of school at 3:45, and Jordan Allen worked there back then, and they were always great to me. Him, Walt Bowen, there was guys. Brandon Blevins was from Tennessee, worked there, but what a peckerhead I was, and how good they treated me. I had that they didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve near the treatment they gave me, but uh, I remember getting out of school one day and they had my horse saddled. I mean, I was a spoiled kid, I promise you. But a lot of times we only had 45 minutes of daylight by the time I got home, too. And I got home from school, was in a bad mood, and went to missing and was throwing a fit out there in the arena. And my granddad, he always smoked a cigar. Well, when it gets bright, you know that you're in trouble. And he was heading some steers for me, and he never said a word. I threw a fit, and that cigar lit up, and he rode out of the arena. He was riding out of the arena. I said, "Grandpa, where are you going? Please stay and turn me some steers." And he never said a word. And he went and unsaddled his horse and went in the house. And it happened twice, and that was by far the toughest thing I ever went through. And he told me when I got in the house, he said, "If we ain't going to have a good time out there, we ain't going to do this. I built that arena with my bare hands for us to enjoy it. And if that ain't going to be the purpose of it," then he said, "Excuse my French, fuck it, I'll quit."
Yeah.
And I get that now. It's like, even to this day, he doesn't rope that much anymore, but he drives his golf cart out there and he watches every run, and I mean, it's like that's his. And he's told my dad when he dies, he said, "This is where you." He said, "I had the best times of my life right here in this arena. This is where I want my ashes."
Oh man, that's so cool.
And I it's funny, I've invested in a place. I partnered with a guy in a place in Mineral Wells. I've invested in a place in Arizona. Um, you know, when you talk about roping, it's Texas or Arizona, dominantly Texas open roping, and I love it. I love my place in Mineral Wells. I love the area, but I think one of the things that's tough on some situations for me, as far as jackpot partners at times or whatever it is I have something that pulls me back to Pueblo all the time. Even though it's not far. I mean, it's 10 hours drive to Stephenville, and I can make that drive anytime. But I can't not. There's anytime I can spend with my granddad, I do it. My aunt, like I still love. I have some of my best friends there, and it's hard for me to not be involved in that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the priorities. That's kind of the things in life you talk about that that mean more to you than roping, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That's home. That's where you're from. That's where you're molded. And that's, like you say, some of the best childhood memories to be able to always have that to go back to. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah. And just even, it's funny. I thought about this the other day when I was home. It's like, we roped about 40 steers, and every steer I run, I'd ask my grandpa, what'd that look like? And it's like, even though you know what he's probably going to say, when it looks like shit or it looks good, it's just, that's kind of how we operate.
Yeah. And then I think too, at that age too, just loving to hear that, loving to hear the feet, the young kid is still striving to get knowledge from somebody and being included. So I love it. I loved it. I loved being there, man. It was so much fun. So I enjoyed
Well,
it.
you're welcome anytime. Hope you know that.
Man, I know you guys are going to do good at the Governor's Cup. You guys, I'll be hollering at you as soon as the week's over to get you to back to my military event again. Get you the NFR showdown, man. You've come before, man. I can't tell you how much I've appreciated having you at our military event that we have. I know one time you brought in a guy, man, and remember you gave him this buckle. You give him the buckle, and you give him your buckle, and tell a little bit of that story, because man, that's when I kind of seen your true heart. But that was some of the coolest things that when I see, the reason I had this event, I never got to give back. I grew up, everything was about me. Everything was about making the NFR. Everything was about trying to make a living. I wanted my own place. And so, like, man, when I got done, it was like, man, I would love to be able to do something for somebody else, because I watched all these people do so much for me to help me get down the road. And not one time did I ever think about really giving back. And, my family was definitely bled red, white, and blue. We loved this country. My dad served. My grandpa served. And, it was just something that was instilled in me. And one of the biggest things I'd seen was the fact that our government didn't take care of our military guys, and I was at the time, especially during COVID, you were watching the police force, the first responders getting shit on as well. And it was kind of one of them, man, it's not like at my age I could go serve, but it was like, man, what could I do to make it better? Because if the government ain't going to do it, then hell with it, I'll do it myself. So that's kind of what inspired me to want to do this. But that was my give back. That was like, for me, that's what I bled. I bled with the guys that fought. I just loved that warrior mentality. I grew up, with my dad speaking that way. So it was always something I was very attracted to. And, when we look at our police, those are guys that keep our streets safe, my family safe while I'm gone. And just that respect that I have for those guys. But when I've done this event, this is going on our 6th year. What's been so cool, man, is when I get to see the NFR guys come, and I get to see guys that just step up and help and love, because it's kind of a pro-am, our military first responder pro roping. But I ain't going to call these guys AMs, man. When they can kill you in 57 different ways with their hands, ain't no damn way I'm calling these bitches out.
There's nothing amateur about it.
No, right. So we call it what it is, man. Either military first responder, and you're going to rope the guys going the NFR.
We call it the pro assassin.
Yeah, right. That's right. But what has been so cool is to watch the camaraderie that has started to develop between the military first responders and the NFR guys. Stuff that you've done. Clay Tryon, one of the guys that is going to keep to himself, is going to win, and all he does is focus about winning. This dude, he wins, and he's always won pro-ams. Remember he used to talk so much crap because he'd always win the pro-am. He's like, I can get anybody to heel for me. And he would. And he'd do it, right? Well, sure enough, he goes to he wins one of the military first responder pro roping ropings. It's like he always does. 10 minutes early to get pictures, stays at least 30 minutes after shaking everybody's hand. It was like, you're seeing sides of guys like in the NFR that I've never seen before, and then you show up and just, I didn't cry, of course, but like, man, it was emotional just with seeing what some of the guys have done. But I remember when you showed up, you won the Open. Was that correct?
Well, I think we did, but it was the day before you had a 13 roping.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And some friends of mine, some dear family friends of mine from Iowa, were at Oklahoma City getting ready to show in the amateur at the World Show like 2 days later. And I said, hey, there's a 13 roping. Why don't you guys come down here and kind of get away for a day? And my buddy Kimby was a 3, and my friend Brent was a 5 healer. I said I could head for you, Brent, and heel for Kimby. And Kimby and I won the 13 roping. Is what it was. And then I can't remember what the deal was, but we took pictures. You had nice buckles made, and there was a real nice fellow there, a veteran, and I gave him that buckle. I think that's how it went.
I believe he was in Vietnam, and I think
that's right.
I think he was a medic. So what that guy's seen, people can't imagine. People can't fathom.
Oh gosh.
And when you did that, the guys that just came in, and they said when you walked away, they said he just looked at it, man, for the long
forever.
And I was like, man, how cool is that? Where we're seeing our guys, that from the NFR show the respect to these guys, and it's just been awesome to watch that bond. It's been cool as hell.
Absolutely. No, that's a great event. It's one that I know we all look forward to it. Luke actually was even talking about the other day the dates of it. He's already got it, put down. But I think you're right. I think that I just admire you because giving back in a way, any way possible, is pretty amazing. I thank God every night for our first responders, our troops, those that have, made the ultimate sacrifice essentially and are now guardian angels over those who miss them so much, and all those fighting a good fight wherever it is, whatever it is just, what they wear on their shoulders is just, I watched the manhunt the other day for Osama bin Laden, and it's like, not only are they fearless, but they're trained. They're strategic. Like there's so much that I don't know about that nobody knows about that goes into what they do, and it's essentially to give us the privilege to just live and do what we love, and that's what's amazing about rodeo is, well, first off, I admire that they pray at the beginning of every rodeo, and they do credit God for all these things, even that we're talking about. They always thank the first responders and our troops, and I think that's so important. But the minute they buck that first bareback horse for I guess it'd be 6 hours at Pendleton, but most of the time for the next 3 hours, the external world is shut off, and reality is no longer a thing.
Yeah.
And and how cool is that? Because of, it's so sad that the people that don't have God in their life, I think, and this is all stuff that I've learned recently. I thought I was saved by Jesus Christ, and I'd raised my hand in church and I had done it, but to understand what that feels like is very important. And there's a lot of people missing that, and it's sad, but I just pray, rather than I wouldn't say I ever held it against somebody, but like I pray for grace, and I pray that Jesus Christ does come into their life. I think it's so important.
Well, and it's one of the industries too that everyone stands for the national anthem. Everyone
Absolutely
takes their hat off. And, this is the one industry that is not gone woke. One of the reasons why Kid Rock is attracted to it is because we still put God first. We still put country. And, this is the one thing that's so unique about the Western industry. And, for me to be able to introduce a lot of the military guys and let them see that, like, hey, no, we truly appreciate you guys. Just watch the national anthem. Just show up.
Yeah.
Look at the patriotism that we have in our industry, and because the thing that's so important too is this will be the sixth home that we've helped build for building homes for heroes. We always take care every year too of the police force when somebody's gotten tragically murdered in the line of duty. We'll step up. We'll cover the funeral cost, and there'll be extra to get by till their benefits come. We do the same thing.
That is so cool.
But with the guys that show up, when you talk about those guys that you watched on TV, the badasses, that is so fast what they do when they serve and they go. It's just and the police see more stuff now than a lot of guys because there's not as many wars now as what you see. A lot of these police, they see more stuff every single day that you can't unsee. Yeah. I mean, it's horrible stuff they see. But what's so hard is how do you turn that off when you get home? These guys coming back from serving from Afghanistan and stuff, and everything's so fast, so fast, and they come home and it just slows down. And that's what gets them. That's the stuff that comes in their head, the stuff that they haven't dealt with, the stuff that they battle with every single day. Because there's over 28 guys every day in the military and the police department that kill themselves every single day.
Gosh. Dang.
And so, if you think about that, it's like, all right, what can we do? Well, come on, man, come rope. We have a branding every year. Come on, man, let's go brand. Let's go get away. Let's go be cowboys.
Yeah.
And, we got a lot of guys that come from back east that don't even rope. They just want to come hang out with their guys. And so I always tell the NFR guys, like, this is not your normal rodeo, man. This is one of them things where, you're not expected to do this. You're not expected to do that. No. Like, we get 50,000 raised for you guys in the NFR showdown. 100% of that money goes for your average. Your fees goes for the rounds. So you guys are roping for good money. You guys are getting ready for the NFR. We had 20,000 for the Open to get you guys there. So you rope with all the top guys. And the goal is for you guys to realize, man, you guys are doing something that's bigger than roping. You guys are helping doing something that's bigger than rodeo. You're providing experiences and stuff that when these guys leave, man, they're swelled. They're swelled up with so much pride, and they get to watch Trey Yates next month at the NFR. And I got to rope them. So what you guys do, man, this ain't just your normal rodeo. You guys are making such an impact for so many of these guys that are having to fight battles. We've got no idea what they're fighting. So when I tell you guys how much I appreciate you guys coming to the event, man, it's bigger than just the roping part of it. So I appreciate you.
We sure appreciate you and the cause of it, everything. Or I do anyway.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Well, man, hey, stick it on them up there, man. Keep doing
I appreciate it, Charlie.
Man, you're roping awesome. You're going to do great. Because I know Luke's going to turn everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, when you get the right spot, you're going to get to the right spot, man. It's over. So, man.
I appreciate it.
Heck yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you for everything.
Finish them off out there, buddy. We'll see you at the NFR event.
Yes, sir.
All right, man.